Welcome to Tap In, the podcast about positivity, potential, and possibility. Tune in while we utilize the power of open hearts and open minds to explore everything from magic and manifestation to triggers and transformation.
We become what we think about. Think about. Think about. Think about. Think about.
I'm literally so clueless.
Hey,
girl. Hey, honey. I'm like,
So
and then I wonder what's taking her so long. And then I look and it's like, admit. I'm like, oh.
Dude, this is so confusing, honestly. Like,
I'm like, it's a
I haven't
Clubhouse?
used Zoom, right? Like, what are we doing? Okay, I do this
know.
every time. How do I rotate you? Am I on the right side?
Am I on the
No.
right side? Wait,
No.
I'm on the other side of my computer.
Hold on. If I turn you like this,
I feel like that's
wait
fine.
a minute. No, because then I'm vertical. Like, my phone's vertical now, and you're horizontal.
That's not it.
That ain't it. Hold on. I do this every time. Oh wait, no.
I'm like,
that's
you're
not
like
it.
an actress, model. I'm like, I know you do this. Oh,
Wait, okay, here we go. I got it.
Oh.
This is always so crazy.
Hey,
We're here.
little
Hey,
fucking ray
girl.
of sunshine.
You know, today I'm not feeling it. You're about to save my whole day. So.
Oh my god, what? Yes, I'm so happy. Well, I'm
Dude,
sorry
no.
you're having a shitty day, but
It was a great day. It was just like, literally, I woke up and I was relaxing, having a good time. And then I got up, started playing with Tank, and all of a sudden his head literally just like slams back into the side of my like temple, jaw, everything.
You're
and
like,
I swear to you,
the money.
this is the money maker,
honey.
but I swear to God, I was like, I think I have a concussion. Like, literally, I do not. Bitch, if this dog just gave me a concussion, I'm gonna lose my shit. So that was like,
for you.
Girl, yeah. So that's
Dude,
how like the morning
why
started.
Did we just get such big dogs?
Literally, he's the first big dog I've ever
unnecessary.
had. This was the first time I've questioned it, where I'm just like, I think you're too big. You're doing dumb shit. Like, my 10-pound dog never did a thing like this before.
Yeah, you're like, he never hurt me.
Anyways, at least I'm here with you now, so that's all that matters.
I know. How are you?
Everything's good.
Good.
You know,
are you working? We just got news that we're shutting down again.
I genuinely don't know what's happening. I'm just kind of like, are things changing?
Everyone knows I don't watch the news, and everyone's like, no, Mar, like, it's shutting down. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what do you mean?
What does that mean? Like, what does a shutdown mean? Because I feel like they've been having everything shut down for like the last week or so. They're like, okay, we're closing restaurants. We're closing all this stuff. I'm like, so what else?
But I'm still eating.
Is closing? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's happening.
That's what I'm not understanding, because I'm like, I don't cook for myself, so and I'm still eating, so I don't understand what's closed.
This shutdown must not be translating, because I'm so good. Yeah, dude, I have no idea what's going on. And my mom like texted me yesterday, and she was like all stressed out. She's like, are you and Dylan like not going to be able to come for Christmas? And I was like, I don't know. So then I like ended up reading into it, and basically like all of the information for the shutdown is so confusing, because it's like everything's shut down. You need to stay at home. But then there's literally like 5 pages of things that are open. It's like, oh, indoor malls are still open, but like at 50% capacity, and gyms are still open, but at 50% capacity. And like, they said that like our work is still okay, like it's protected under a new something. So I have no clue what's happening. I'm still doing like castings, and like work has still been coming in, so I'm like crossing my fingers that it stays like that. But you know,
it's a weird time.
Like the fact that we're not together right now, because I know,
could you imagine? We'd be like,
oh, it would have been way too hype. I think it's okay. It's better that we start like this, because
this is like the tip.
Just the tip. We're just starting. But now I'm like, oh God, it's crazy. This has been insane. But you know, we're making it work.
Yes,
We're
I
living
know.
through history, and
I know.
that's
I know.
the
I'm
only
like
thing that's been getting me
literally,
through.
I just keep being like, that's it. I'm coming home.
Honestly.
No.
But it's like, we got to keep rolling. We're doing our thing. We are
I'm
business
like-
women. Like,
I'm like, it's fine.
everything's okay. Everything's fine. Yeah, literally.
I didn't cry naked in my bathtub last Wednesday for an hour. And that was
You gotta
the
do what
only
you
time I
gotta
left my
do.
bed. It's fine.
It's fine. Everybody is going through it. Honestly, I feel like a storybook of how each person like went through this year would be amazing. I want to hear like the craziest things people have done, because I feel like it's a lot of crying in your bathtub and
Literally,
doing
my
random
mom called me,
things.
and I'm just like fetal position, like questioning everything.
I'm barely hanging on. Like, just
She's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "No."
you're like, I don't know.
Call back tomorrow.
No, check back later, maybe next month. Like, I don't know, man. But at the same time, I'm just like, okay, you know, like honestly, I have grown so much this year. I feel like a lot of people are growing in
Yeah,
ways
you're
that, like,
thriving. Let's
which
not.
is weird.
I'm
It's
like,
weird.
we could just use this as the entrance. So we've got Sophia with us, and she's thriving in quarantine. Might be dying inside, but outwardly thriving.
Thriving in some ways. Like, dude,
You are.
it's been crazy. It's been crazy, honestly. Like, that's the one thing where I was like, in the middle of quarantine, I was like, no. I was just like, didn't know what I was doing. And then one day I was like, you know what? We have to like make the best of this.
Yeah, it
because
is what it is.
it's life. Like,
Mhm.
every day is a new opportunity. And if we don't take it, we just are like, we'll wait till next year. It's like, nobody
Right.
knows how long we're going to be here for. So
Well, that's
gotta
what I'm
take
saying. I'm like,
advantage. You know what I
we could
mean?
combust at this point. Honestly, nothing's off the table.
Nothing's off the table at this point. I don't know. I saw something about like a UFO sighting. And I'm like, you
I
know
love
what?
like the meme where it's like the aliens. It's like, oh fuck, we're up next.
Yes, they're like, it's our time to shine. I'm like, you stay
I'm
back.
like, come.
I'm not ready.
I'm
No.
like, come through. Come through.
Or it's like, just take me on your UFO. I'll come to your planet. I'm good.
Like, let's
Scoop
run it.
me. Let's start this
I'll
bitch
drop a
somewhere
pin.
else.
Come get me, please.
Oh,
Pick me
God.
up.
Save me. SOS. God
Like,
damn.
yeah,
girl.
that's fine.
Ah, Jesus.
So that's where I'm at. I'm like literally like praying aliens come.
Dude, I'm the opposite. They scare the shit out of me. I'm like, I would rather go any other way than to have like literally the movie. Do you remember the movie 2012?
Well, I'm just waiting for us to be like Hancock.
I
Is
didn't.
it Hancock or what is the one like where when Will Smith is like literally like the only one left? Like me
I
and
am
Zeus
Legend.
in my head.
I am Legend.
I am Legend. Okay.
That movie
I don't
got
watch
me.
movies. I'm the worst.
You know what? It's okay. But you knew that one. That one's a classic. That was a classic.
I'm like, in my head, I just keep picturing me and Zeus, like, walking through the streets of Santa Monica, like, over homeless people's bodies and then regular
damn,
people's
girl.
bodies.
You've been
Listen.
visualizing this too long.
No, I'm just like, I'm ready. Let's go.
I am the opposite. I literally feel like if the world ever ended, I would just, like, take some type of sleeping pills to just knock myself out. I'm going out. Like, I'm not going down fighting. I don't believe in myself like that, which is really sad.
No, liar.
No, I swear to God, if there's zombies, anything like that.
We can't do the zombie thing because that is my
Even
like
aliens though.
That's my irrational fear is the zombies.
Really?
Like on my Hinge when I had it, it was like, what's your irrational fear? And I was like, zombie apocalypse.
Oh fuck, dude. Have you watched Game of Thrones?
I can't do Zombieland. I didn't watch Game of Thrones. I know you love it, and Landon's on it too, actually.
I just started it, and I'm like, oh, it is so fucking good. But the White Walkers just came, and you would be losing your mind. You would not be there for it.
I can't.
They're coming in fleets. Like, there was a scene where it was just like literally
how do you kill a zombie? Hundreds
of thousands with dragon glass. Like, it's crazy though. But there's so many that it almost made me sick, and I'm not that scared of zombies, but you would lose your shit. So I'm like literally watching that. I was like, why are you even fighting? Just lay down and let it happen, because there's no way. And that is my mentality for like the world ending. I would just lay down and let it happen. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen, because I'm not going to be out there with Tank. Me and Tank will be gone. It'll be you and Zeus, because I can't do
like,
that.
Hold my phone.
No, she's a bad bitch. I'm not. I'm a scared cat.
I like take my hoops out.
Girl, I'm keeping them in. I'm going out. Fabulous. I'm like, take me. It's been fun. It's a wrap. I don't need to be the only person on the planet.
Dude, I sometimes think about that. Like, I'll like think about having kids, and then I'll be like, why would I do that? Because I just feel like
you got to worry about them first before you.
Well, not even that. It's just like, if we don't know what's happening here.
If we're questioning what our own future looks like why would you bring other kids in here right now?
I can't even.
I don't want them to deal with that. I'm like, I need to know what the next 10 years are going to look like before that's a possibility.
Granted, like, I literally don't get texted back, and I'm thinking about my kids, but this is not the point, Sophia.
You know what? Guess what? She's prepared. She's prepared.
Thinking ahead.
She's thinking ahead.
We love that.
Dude, I love you so much, man. This is ridiculous.
So,
I feel like we're just having like the most fun FaceTime conversation right now. Like, I forget that we're actually like doing a podcast.
Yeah, like technically we should be doing this, but I think we already are. That's how I feel. I just make friends with the coolest people, and I'm like, just come hang out with us.
Just come hang out on our podcast. Let's just have a good time.
Oh, you're not doing anything either while you're listening? Yeah. Oh, none of us are. Don't worry.
Welcome to the club. This is the place for you. Dude, if anybody needed a podcast, it's you. So I feel like this is just only makes sense.
Well, it's funny because, the reason I texted you this morning, like, I think I want to do a visual is because people have been, like, on my shit. Like,
about
not
visuals?
saying, I mean, like, the 5 people who have openly told
They're important, okay?
I know. I love them.
They are important.
I'm like, Mom, guess what? Someone told me they listened. My mom listens every time,
exciting.
Too.
That's so exciting. Hi, Mom.
I hate it here.
Oh,
here we go again.
You know we're gonna have to do this again. What is going on? Okay. Hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. At least I figured this out. This time.
You're getting it. Look at you.
By the end of this podcast, we're both going to be professionals with Zoom, because it's not me right now. I don't understand it.
Listen, no, literally this happened on my last podcast, and then I deleted the first video in editing, or the first set of audio. Whatever, you know?
Season whatever. You know what?
Ever.
Fresh. What's going on?
Welcome back, Riders. How was?
Well, welcome. I was literally like having a whole thing. I was like, Laura, come back. I was
like, no. And it was like, yes.
I've had enough.
At this point, like, I'm just like, I'm writing Santa a letter, and I'm getting a fucking computer.
Dude, what are you using? You
Honestly,
have a Mac?
Yeah, Steve Jobs just plays us.
Mr. Tank, nobody invited you into this room. Can you see him?
Dude, Zeus is no. Oh my.
He just poked his head in. Like, he just backed himself out.
Yo, dogs are so funny, dude. Zeus is sitting at my door, like, crying, like, let me in. I'm like, no, you talk more than me.
Like, this is my podcast, actually.
Oh my God. I literally could have the dog on the podcast. Like, I could talk to the dog on the podcast, and
he wants his own episode. That's all.
He wants a dad.
Maybe he's just not going to stop talking until he gets one.
It's just my favorite joke. Like, anytime he's crying, I'm like, someone get this dog a dad. Wait, so while I'm typing
your from laughing.
Gmail, I'm like 96, and I'm like, dude, you're a fucking savage. Like, we're just gonna negate the fact that you are a savage.
What I do?
You were just a young bull and you just pop the fuck off all the time. I don't understand.
Oh my God. Dude, honestly,
I always
everybody
think
like,
you're my age.
how old are you?
I mean, I'm not like your superior by any means. I'm
I
only
was gonna
26,
say,
but even
exactly,
still,
dude.
we're
You're a baby
thriving.
too.
I
But I know we
know.
really are thriving.
We're like
We are
the
thriving.
infants of adulthood.
Everything, literally. Yes, I get asked all the time that like people are so confused. Like my neighbor literally was like, I thought you were 30. And I was like, I don't know how I
Period.
feel about that. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, not looks wise, you look like a baby, but the way that you are, I thought that you were just older. And I was like, but
Yeah, you're like, oh, you mean my apartment and my
you mean-
man's
and my dog.
Oh, and the photo that you see outside every day? Yeah, run it, sir. I'm 24. Put some respect on my name.
Put some respect on my name. Dude, I fucking love you. Yeah, it's crazy though. Like sometimes I'm like, well, Dylan's 28 and
Okay, that makes me feel way
sometimes-
better.
yeah, Dylan's 28. So I feel like I'm his age sometimes just because like we're all, we live together, but like I feed off of his energy. So sometimes I forget that I'm only 24 and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm 28 too. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm 24.
You're like,
and then I'm like,
check yourself before you wreck yourself, sir. I am
literally
thriving and I'm 24. You're like, you
baby
didn't
and I
put
got
the
my own money."
dishwasher. You didn't start the dishwasher and I'm 24. I don't have to deal with that.
Let me tell him that way he can know. But no, dude, it's crazy. I'm like, I feel like this is such an exciting time for like me and you. Like, any age you can be doing some badass shit. Like, it doesn't matter.
For
And that's what I
sure.
keep telling people. I'm like, it doesn't matter how young or how old you are. Like, go after whatever you want because you could do it at any age.
Mhm.
But it is exciting when like, we are this young and we're really like doing, wow, my neighbor just ran past me. I
was
like,
was
am I
that
missing
Dash
something?
from The Incredibles? God
Is
damn.
it a zombie apocalypse? Like,
Stop
what am I missing? But no,
I'm like,
it's
no.
crazy to think of that where it's like, okay, we're like in our 20s and we are, living out our dreams. Like, I'm where I've always wanted to be. I always wanted to live in LA. And I'd never visited before I moved out here. I was just like, I'm going.
Shut up.
I'd never even been to California, like at all. And the same with
Okay,
New
so
York.
why don't we run through this real quick? So where
Let's
are
run
you
it.
from?
Okay,
so I'm
yes.
like, if you creep her Instagram, you will know that Sophia is half island girl, half Midwestern belle. I just made that.
Yep. I like it. I love it.
So you're a daughter, a sister, a dog mom, you're a partner, you're a leveling up partner too,
Yes.
in my opinion.
Thank
An
you.
entrepreneur, a
Yes,
businesswoman,
ma'am.
a Wilhelmina, a Wilhelmina model.
Did you catch that?
I'm gonna run that back.
So ridiculous.
A literal light of beam and a Taurus, which I am just saying, I want to dig a little deeper on that because I don't know.
Oh.
Do you know your moon and your rising?
I don't know diddly squat.
I
so
think there has to be Leo somewhere in the mix.
I don't know. How do I know? I have to get my birth time, right?
Do you know your birth time?
That's what all the memes say. I have it somewhere in my messages. I messaged my mom one time because my friend Bella, it was when that one app was really popular, CoStar, and she wanted to do mine. And then I started reading that it was like hacking your phone or something like that.
CoStar is like the pattern.
That was the one. No, Pattern was the one. That was the one. Because
Pattern is
like,
scary.
yes. And so
No,
then
like
I read,
the accuracy is like sickening.
but I read that it was like hacking into your information so it could find out everything about you to make it feel like it knew. I don't know. So basically I asked for
Weird
the
flex.
time. I asked my mom for that so I could do a pattern. And then I read that and I was like, I'm okay.
You're like, never mind. I take it back.
I
Wait,
take it
what
back.
is your
I'm
birthday?
pretty sure my birthday's May 2nd, 1996.
Okay.
But I'm pretty sure I was born at like 9:02 a.m.
Okay, let's just peek real quick.
Pretty sure.
Only because my last episode was about astrology, and
Ooh.
it was a good one.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna be binging them. I'm gonna be listening to Tap 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 In the shower. That's what I'm gonna be listening to today.
Where were you born?
Columbia, Missouri.
Missouri.
Missouri, girl. Lord, she's. I don't claim Missouri. I claim Columbia, and that's it.
Dead.
But yeah, that it's a questionable area.
Wait, I think I might be. How do I spell Columbia?
Oh, I was like, what happened? Is it something scary?
Literally the other day on my story, I said tobacco, and then everyone was like blasting me like, Mar, did you just say tobacco? I was like, you know what, listen to my podcast, you can hear me say a fucking 1,000 words the wrong way. Like, fuck off.
Spare me, let me have my time.
You knew what I was saying.
You know what I was talking about. That's all that matters. I think Columbia, it's just COLUMBIA. So I think like Columbia is with an O, but
okay,
Missouri,
see, that's what I did.
That's what I did. You knew what you were doing. Don't worry about it. She said, I don't know.
I'm like, why am I like this?
Oh my God, I'm horrible at geography, honestly, so don't even worry about that. But yeah, I don't know what anything is. I want to get more into astrology because I feel like,
you don't have a Leo. You don't have Leo?
No.
I was projecting. Whatever. I was wrong. I was hoping it was going to be there so I could be like, I told you, bitches. Get your birth chart.
I know what I'm talking about. What is it?
But your moon is Scorpio, which we love that. I love Scorpios.
Spicy.
And your rising is Gemini.
You know what? A lot of people have asked me if I had Gemini in me. I'm like, I don't know, but I hope not because I'm just crazy.
No,
I am crazy. So
I love Gemini. They have a bad rep too.
They really do. I feel like
everyone, like, signs just get bad reps for no reason. And it's like, dude, just like love on them for that. Like, the fuck? It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It just is.
I feel like I don't hear enough about Taurus. Like, Tauruses. They're always talking shit about Geminis or Leos and all this stuff. I'm like, I guess that means anybody ever tells me when I'm a Taurus, I'm like, yeah, I'm a Taurus. They're like, oh, yeah, you're lazy and you like to eat. I'm like, damn, is that all that we're good for? I'm like,
no, you're grounded and you're level-headed.
Thank you.
You're
I'm
welcome.
Stubborn.
Listen.
I'm like, I have lazy tendencies occasionally.
We all
and I do like to eat, but like, that's not me. Damn.
I have to eat to live. So.
Hello?
Oh my God.
Just like to do it a little bit more than everybody else.
All right, so there's your intro and your ADD driven detour, astrological detour.
She was tapping back into her last episode.
We're back in this episode. You said you moved to Cali.
Yes.
Without ever coming here. That's some crazy shit. How old were you?
It'll be 3 years in January. I'm 24 now. So I was 21 when I moved out here.
Mm-hmm.
So basically I was born in Columbia, Missouri, but I was like only there until I was 5. And then I moved to Carbondale, Illinois. It was a small town, Southern Illinois, but great, like, hometown, great place to grow up. So anyways, I'm super close with my family.
Mm-hmm.
So without
I love you and your family.
modeling, dude, I love them so much. That's the only thing that's been the hardest about this year is just not getting to see them as much, but we've still figured it out. But if it wasn't for modeling, I don't know where I would have ended up at this point at 24. I don't think I would have still been in Carbondale because I always knew that I needed to get out.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was so close with my family, I would never have thought to come across the country. But because I was so passionate about modeling, I was like, I'll do anything. So my first stop was Chicago, and I was in Chicago for about 4 months, and I lived in a model apartment there. And that was a good, like, starting point because it was like a 6-hour train ride back home. So whenever I missed my family, I could go see them on the weekends. They could come visit me. So it was good. It wasn't too far, but it was still like far enough from home to feel independent.
Right.
And so I was there. I had the time of my life in Chicago. And then I went to New York for about 3.5 months. Never been to New York before either. So I just packed my bags up and went.
You're like,
And so
bye.
that was the craziest one for me, because I literally never had a desire to go to New York. Like, obviously I knew like fashion was in New York. Like, that was the capital for fashion. But I was like, every end of the world movie starts off in New York. I'm good. Literally. That has been a fear of mine forever. I'm like, I don't need to be there.
Apparently. I'm like, you think I've thought about it. God damn.
Yeah, I'm a little bit crazy. But so I never wanted to go to New York. And going there right before I left, you know, people were just like, it smells like trash. The rats are the size of dogs. Like, they were just saying so many negative things about New York. So my expectations were like incredibly low. And I got there, and that was probably the best thing that could have happened to me, because everything was just so amazing to me. Because my expectations were low, I wasn't expecting to love it as much. And I ended up like falling in love with New York, like totally found myself and just was like having the best time. I lived in a model apartment again, and I had like literally like 12 other roommates, and we just
these model apartments are something I feel like people definitely don't know about unless you're in the sauce.
Anything about model apartments, nothing.
But it's
would
like
love
mini
to do
TikTok
something about it.
houses.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
The warm up for TikTok houses.
Oh God, it's on another level. It's so funny, because like before I got into, well, when I was getting into modeling, before I went to the model apartments, I obviously was obsessed with America's Next Top Model. So I just assumed that the model apartments would be like that. And it was just very, like, on the show, it was very catty and, you know, really high stress levels and just everything. So I was like, oh, Jesus, like, I'm afraid. And people were just telling me everything. They're like, the girls are mean. They cram everybody in there. And I was like, oh, but I had the best experiences in, like, all 3 model apartments I was in. Like, literally, I made some of my greatest friends in model apartments. Like, if it wasn't for those people, like, I wouldn't have had the times that I did in Chicago, New York, even out here, because you're in a house full of people that are excited. Like, you're all doing the same thing, you know?
Right.
So you're like motivating each other, and you get it. Like, you understand the highs and the lows, but there were, you know, the downsides to living with numerous other girls that are in the same business, because it wasn't necessarily catty, but it was just like, okay, like someone's like having a low and they're like, fuck modeling, I'm done with this, I hate this.
Right.
And you could be on a high, but because you're around all that energy, you're like, oh, maybe I should be worried about this. You know what I mean? So like your thoughts weren't always just your own, like other people's energy was messing with yours. And after a while, you're just like, I can't do this anymore. So I was in New York for a few months. And then I was like, okay, well, LA is kind of like my last stop, but I was so nervous to come because of the fact that I was so excited to come to LA. I was like, LA has always been the place that I knew I would end up. I was like, I love the beach, you know, my mom's from Bahamas, so I grew up spending a lot of time by the ocean, and I love the sun. Like, I love it. So I was like, yes, totally.
Yeah.
So I was like, LA is going to be my fucking place. But that made it even more stressful when I was coming, because I was like, I really want this to work out. Like, what if it
Were you like
doesn't?
forced to leave New York?
No.
Or did you decide?
So New York was an interesting situation. So when I was there about, I guess it was like 3.5 years ago, I had just signed to Wilhelmina in general. So first I was signed in Chicago, and then Wilhelmina in New York picked me up, and then Wilhelmina, LA. So basically I had to do my rounds and go to Chicago, New York, and LA to see which market was going to be the best for me to, you know, figure out where I needed to base myself out of. So New York was having the time of my life. Was not doing much modeling whatsoever. I wasn't going on many castings, which was hard because I was like the only curve model in the model apartment. There was one other girl too. So we kind of got to stick together, but all the other girls were straight size. and they were going on like numerous castings a day.
Mm-hmm.
And me and this other girl were just kind of like sitting in the house like, damn, nothing for us. Like,
No love for the
what
for a
are we
little
doing?
extra love.
Come on now. Like we were like, what the fuck? So that was crazy, but I ended up like getting a side job at a grocery store because I had to make some money.
Right.
And that was like the best thing that I could have done because I got free groceries.
Mm.
We got tipped for like ringing up people's it was a great job. I had friends. I felt like established.
Mm-hmm.
But modeling wise, there was nothing happening up until Fashion Week, and I ended up booking like 2 shows in Fashion Week, which was really exciting for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was great. And I was like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm getting established.
Right.
And basically right after Fashion Week, my agents were like, hey, you know, things are going pretty slow for you right now. We're going to send you back home and bring you back out when work starts to pick up again. Because I was living in the model apartment and you don't have to pay out of pocket for those,
Mm-hmm.
they basically take your rent out whenever you get a check.
Mm-hmm.
And because I wasn't really getting a check, they're like,
They're
we
like,
can't just have you up in this model apartment living your best life. And I was like, what?
are you sure?
Oh, why? I'm having the time of my life. So I had to go home and I was bummed out about it, but I was like, you know, it's okay. And then a couple weeks after that, they had reached out to me and they're like, you know, we're clearing out the board. We are just gonna let you go right now. And I was like, what? Like, I had only been signed with them for a few months. I had been out there, you know, did 2 shows in Fashion Week, and they had mentioned that I was like one of the only girls that had even booked Fashion Week that year from Wilhelmina. And I was like, whoa, this doesn't make any sense.
Uh-huh.
So that obviously was like a huge blow for me and my confidence because I was like, I just got dropped from an agency, like, and I didn't even do anything wrong. Like, I don't understand what happened.
Right.
And so that made me really hesitant, and it like put me in a shell where I was like, damn, I don't even know if I want to go to LA right now because what am I going to do if it doesn't work?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd been in Chicago, and Chicago is a great city to live in, but work-wise, there weren't that many clients,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the clients were actually moving to LA. So that couldn't really be my base if I wanted to be working. And then
Right.
New York was a wrap, and I was like, wow, so LA is the last, this is it. Like, if it doesn't work out, I don't know what I'm going to do. So that made me extremely nervous to come out to LA.
Were you coming
finally,
to LA without the model apartment? Like,
I already had the model apartment set up here because I was already
Okay.
signed with Wilhelmina LA. So they were
So
like,
are those different entities, like Wilhelmina, New York versus? Okay.
Yes, yeah. So every different branch has their own agents. They're different people. They're just all under Wilhelmina.
Okay.
So there's Wilhelmina, Chicago, New York, LA, London, and Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And you can be signed with, you know, LA and New York, and then have different agencies in Miami and, you know, London. So you can have different representations as long as they're in different places.
Right.
So I was still with Wilhelmina LA, still with Wilhelmina Chicago, but losing New York, I was like, what the fuck? Like, being signed in New York was such a big deal for me too, because, you know, you feel like
and it's
made
like
it.
Fashion Week is there,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. And I just
like
had that taste.
LA is it, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's definitely like everybody knows that everyone is in LA, like so many clients, you know, and it's definitely, I feel like, growing more in the fashion side here in LA, but you know, New York is always going to be New York, where the top of the top are. So I was like, I was heartbroken and confused, and I was like, wow, okay. But finally, you know, my parents were like, Sophia, like, just, you got to go out there, you got to give it a try. You're not going to know if it's going to work out if you don't give it a try, you know. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So me and my best friend Tyus, we pretty much did everything together.
That's who you're in the campaign.
Yes, the Key campaign.
Okay.
The Key campaign. Yes.
Okay.
So we had initially met on my first modeling job ever when I was like 17 or 18 in St. Louis, Missouri. And so that's when our friendship started. But he had gotten signed to Wilhelmina, Chicago, like a few weeks before I signed with them. And then we both moved into the model apartment. The girls were upstairs, the guys were downstairs. And so we became like this. And then when I moved to New York, Tyus and a couple of my other friends from the model apartment like came out for a few days, like when I first moved, so that they could like, you know, we could all just have a good time and they could settle me in. Like we were just a family.
Like a send off. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And we had the time of our lives. But then Tyus and I decided, okay, we're just going to move out to LA together. So we packed our bags, we got in his car, and we drove from St. Louis to LA. It took us like 24 hours. We had such a great time though. And we were just so excited about everything. We were like, wow, okay, you know. And in LA, they only had like a women's model apartment, and Tyus had a different setup. So he dropped me off and then he left, and it was just kind of like, okay, there you go. You know, we still had each other. He was close by, but we didn't live in the same building anymore. And we were like, oh shit, you know, but yeah, it was crazy. So I got out here, and obviously, you know, I was like, wow, I'm in LA, but it took me at least a month or so to actually become excited. Yeah, which was really strange to me, because when I first got to New York, I felt like I was just like ready to go, like had the time of my life. Like I had the subway, you know, I could go wherever I wanted to go for like $30 a month or something like that. And so I was like, this is awesome. And then I got to LA and I was like,
you thought,
what? I was like, $40 for an Uber to a casting just one way, and I gotta pay to get back, like $80 for one casting. Like, so that was like really tough, because I didn't know how much money I was gonna need. You know what I mean? I didn't have a car. Tyus had his car, and he, you know, drove me around whenever I needed it when he was free. But for the most part, I had to take Ubers. And then for like the first 2 weeks that I was here, it was raining. And I was like, hold up. I thought it was not supposed to rain in LA. This is not what I signed up for. And I was like, this fucking sucks. And so I was like homesick. I wasn't as close to the beach as I thought I was, you know, because
that's the best part. It's like, you don't know. LA is gigantic.
Literally, I had no idea. And I was like, oh, New York's big. It's fine. But like, you got the subway that just takes you wherever you need to go. And it's not even as spread out as this. And so then on top of that, I was living like right off of Hollywood Boulevard, which at first I thought was going to be glamorous. I was like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be awesome. Girl.
You're like stepping through piles of piss.
Literally.
Over bodies.
Like, what the fuck is this? It was horrible. So that was like really unfortunate, because I was like, damn, you know, like this is where I always wanted to come. And my expectations were so high that it was hard to meet that. So it was just my first month or so, I was like, no, this is not it. I was so bummed out. But thankfully I booked like my first job within the first week that I was here. And I was like, okay, this is a great start. You know, it felt like a sign to be like, you're supposed to be here, you know, things are going to be okay.
Right.
And then, you know, quickly after that, I was just ready to go. I had great girls that were in the model apartment with me, although that model apartment was nothing like the other two I had been in. It was very bad, but you know, they can't all be great. But, you know, it was a fun experience. But once I was in that model apartment for about 3 months, I was like, okay, I'm officially done with model apartments. I've been around too many women.
Yeah.
My emotions can't handle this. Like, I have to focus on me, and I can't be, you know,
it's
filling
like a
my
stepping
head with
stone.
Yeah.
You don't,
and
it's not like a home base.
Exactly. And a lot of times it was easy to kind of get it as a home base, because you're like, I don't have to pay out of my pocket. So this is great.
It's
so
like, I'm living for free, but you're not.
No,
you're like paying emotionally and mentally.
Everything. And you have to pay when your check comes in, and it's not a small price. But, you know, without the model apartments, I would not be where I am now. So I'm always thankful for that. But to this day, I still want to make like a show about model apartments. But I feel like
I never
don't
knew
know how to
about
do
them
that.
till I was here. And then I was like, wait, you mean a whole apartment full of tens? I don't get it.
Girl, it's crazy. It is crazy. One day I'm going to make a show about it, because it is just, I mean, we had the time of our lives, but I feel like so many people don't know about model apartments, and then so many other models who've never been in them have these like expectations, or they've heard all these rumors, and I'm like, they're really not that bad. They're actually great. It's like
Right.
a
And it's
college
like also like
experience.
what you make it, kind of, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. If you go in there being a bitch, like, you can't expect people to want to be your friend. But
Right.
if you go in there ready to just be buddies, like, you're gonna have the time of your life. So
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that could be, it would be like an easy place to like feel like you need to compete. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, we all look different. Like each client
Yes.
wants a specific look anyways.
Exactly.
So I
Exactly.
can't take your client.
Exactly. And once you know that, then you're like, okay. And also, like, you're working with, there's some girls that are in the model department are new, some have been doing this for a while. So you get to learn. Like, it's just I had a great experience. I
Oh yeah,
love that.
that's just because you are a great experience,
You
honestly.
know, I try.
You do you do damn good, like, to be honest.
Oh my
Um,
God.
so okay, so you moved to LA. You knew you wanted to be a model.
Yeah.
Who have been like, I'm looking at some of the questions that I have for you.
Yeah.
So you've been in the industry for over 5 years now then,
Yeah.
which is
I got really interested in the industry when I was 16.
mhm.
And back then, the curve industry was nothing. It was literally straight size was everything. And they had like a blip of plus size, and they
Mhm.
talked down on it. You know what I mean? So when I first got into it, they were like, look, you can lose a little bit of weight and be a straight size model, or you can gain weight and be a plus size model. Like, it was basically just like
Yeah,
that.
you're
It
like,
was, so
okay.
you're like, well, damn, I'm not going that way. I guess I'll just
Right.
lose some weight, And so I
Right.
went through that for about 6 or 7 months of just like really trying to achieve this like ballerina figure that they wanted from me, which is impossible because I've been born with thick muscular thighs
Right. Yeah, no, your
and
body's like amazing.
boobs, and thank you.
Yeah,
But
you're
at the time, like, I started looking down on my body and not liking it for what it was, because I was being told, oh, your legs need to be smaller, you need to have a thigh gap, you need to look like this. And it
Could
was
you
just one of those
imagine all the
things.
things that would fall through your lap if you had a thigh gap?
You know what I'm talking about? I
Yeah, like,
catch everything with these things. Like,
I
I'm
hear you.
good.
I mean,
These are my self-defense right now.
I hear you. There's nothing wrong with the thigh gap, but in this, when you've had a thigh gap and then you take away the thigh gap, you kind of lose your motor skills.
You know what I mean? Exactly. Like, I don't even need pepper spray as long as I got these thighs. Like, I'm ready to go. But, being told by somebody in the industry that you're trying to get into that you need to look a certain way, you're like,
Right.
all right, well, I'm going to
Do
try
that.
doing that. So I had lost a lot of weight, and, my parents were initially nervous when it came to modeling because, they know what the modeling industry was like during that time, and they didn't want me to fall into anything crazy. And thankfully I was able to literally just be like, you know what? I'm done. Like, this isn't me. This is starting to feel unhealthy. I don't want to get into, a slippery slope of anything crazy. So I decided to kind of like step back and, took a little break. And over time, I just couldn't stop thinking about modeling. I was like, I just really want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to a casting, and this is all in St. Louis at the time because that was
So
the
did you
closest city to
come to
me.
LA, then go back to?
No. This was when I
Okay.
was 16.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
this was when I initially started in St. Louis, and I ended up signing with an agency there for a few years. But getting that first start was so hard because it was in the midst of the timing where it was just like, you have to be straight as a board.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'd ended up going to a casting with a different agency, and they were like, hey, you are literally like the perfect size to be a curve model. And I was like, what? Why did nobody tell me about this before? Like, I've been out here doing Pilates and running and eating salads and Triscuits, like
I'm
trying
so
to
sad.
lose, right? I'm like, if somebody would have told me this before, I would have never done all that. So
Right.
that agency didn't end up signing me, but I'm still grateful to this day that I met with them because they were the ones that introduced me to the curve industry. And then I finally was like, this is great. Like, I can just do this at my normal size, my natural sizing. So I ended up signing with an agency shortly after that. They had 2 curve models. It was me and my friend Ingrid. And, finally getting signed to this agency in St. Louis was like, I felt like I made it in St. Louis, Missouri. Like, there's not shit to do there, girl. But I was like, okay, I'm signed.
It's part of the playlist.
It's part of the journey, definitely. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where I would be. But I was with them for about 2 years. And during that time, I was going to college. So I, did 2 years of college, and nothing was happening with modeling because again, you're in St. Louis, there's nothing to do.
Yes.
I think I booked like 2 jobs. One was like AT&T and another was like Scrubs. So nothing happening. But I finally, I finished my 2 years of college, and like literally every day in class, I was just not paying attention. I was just thinking about modeling. I was like, what can I do? Because I would set up shoots with my photography friend, Eli, which like he started everything off with me because we were able to create. We watched America's Next Top Model, make our own little shoots, crazy girl. We had the time of our lives, but that was all I was doing. So I just decided, I talked to my parents and they were like, you should just go after it, And I was like, I'm not going to know if I can do this unless I actually dedicate all of my energy towards trying it.
Right.
So I ended up leaving my agency in St. Louis, which I was super scared of because I was like, dude, it took me forever to just get signed with them. Right. Is anybody going to want me? Like, is this, even though they weren't providing anything for me because it had taken so long. It was like
your badge. You were like, but look, I'm signed.
Yes, but I'm signed, even though I wasn't doing anything, I was like, well, at least I'm signed,
Right.
So going back to being unsigned was so scary. But it was the best decision I could have made because I left them, and literally the next week I got signed like on the spot by Wilhelmina. And that was when everything changed. And that was about 3.5 years ago. So that's when I started going to Chicago, New York, LA. And so I always say, people are like, how long have you been modeling? I'm like, well, I started when I was 16, but I say my career started when I signed with Wilhelmina because that was when I was actually putting all my energy into it, traveling, doing everything. But it's been a crazy journey. But I'm like, the fact that I've had to work this hard makes every job even more exciting because I remember what it was like when I was just trying to get there.
Right.
So every time I start to feel stressed or like I'm not doing enough, I'm like, girl, do you see how far you've come already? And this isn't even anything. This is basically the beginning. But when you think back of the beginning, it's wild.
Well, I mean, I feel like I've known you almost 2 years now. And we met at that beach cleanup that I hosted with Zoila. And, I don't know. I mean, like seeing you from then to now even is like crazy. I love watching your stuff because I relate to you so much in the fact that like you are like a perfect example of like doing the scary shit and then like having it work out. Like I know, I mean, we've never talked about it, but I know you believe in magic because you like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, that was like one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. Cause I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like if someone says no, because you're like, yes.
I'm like, okay,
anyways,
that's not going to
I'll
stop
just
me.
do it a different way.
And I so believe in the power. And I feel like I'm just now starting to believe it, especially like with you in my life now and seeing the things that you talk about. And I have another friend, Michaela, who is very like spiritual and 11:11 and like everything. And at first I was like, I don't know if I believe in that. And then I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
you're like, let me just look at myself for a second.
Living in it. You've been living it. You know what? Like I've always just believed in the power of like, I know that I'm gonna do this. And when I feel like when you know something and you tell yourself, like you're just paving your way in the universe. You know what I mean? Like, so I've really started to be intrigued by it when I met you and you kind of started like introducing me to all this and even seeing the things that you talk about, like just your energy, focusing your energy, like talking to the universe. And I have one of my good friends, Bella, is really into that too. And so being surrounded by people who feel so strongly about that. I'm like, I do believe in that. I just didn't know it was a thing. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Because
You didn't like recognize it. It's just who you are. It's who we
Yes.
all are, but it's like not normal.
Yeah.
It's like too much. And I'm like,
Yes.
no, it's fucking
like,
fun.
No, it's fun. And it's also just encouraging. Like, when you think of it in a way of like, listen, I know I'm going to do this. And if I'm putting all my energy towards this, the universe can only
Provide.
me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
Yep.
and just pave the way. So I feel like that's been one of my things where it was just like, look, I've always known. And even to this day, like when I'm going through a patch where I'm like, damn, what is going on? Like, things just don't feel like they're moving the way I want them to, or it's not going as fast as I want them to. I'm like, listen, Sophia, you know what you're gonna do.
It's like you just have to keep showing up.
Yes, in my like heart and soul, I know that I'm going to achieve everything that I want to. And I feel like when you know that, you're just like, all right, it's just a matter of time. Like,
right.
I don't even question it anymore. I'm like, I know I'm doing what I need to be doing. So I'm just gonna wait my time, you know?
Right.
But it's been crazy. The journey, it's been exciting, you know, but my one thing that I want to provide to people is just to remind them, like, look, just keep going, because if you give up, what's the point? Like you have to
you didn't come this far just to come this far.
Exactly. I'm like, you have to put in the work, like with everything. Right. There are very few people who just get given something or they get lucky, and it happens, but that's not for everybody. And most people have to work, put in the fucking blood, sweat, and the tears, the many tears.
I think also like the work is just kind of like secondary in a sense. It's like more or less like deciding like where it is you want to go. I think a lot of people just kind of like mosey on through things, you know, without like, no, this is what I want. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to experience. And it's like, once you get like very specific about those things, then it's like you're giving like direction to the universe, and then that can like move things around for you.
The paved way gets created.
You know, it's
okay,
like, you can't just be like, oh, I want to be a model.
It's like, okay, so what do you want to do? What kind?
Do you want to be a bathing suit model?
Right, like give me some specifics.
You do athletics. What's that look like for you? I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah.
I love like, well, because, okay, when we just did your little fantasy shoot. Like 2 months ago. Like,
I still get so excited over that shoot. That is like, to this day, like gonna be such a monumental shoot for me, because it was like the start of my new self. Like when I came out of quarantine and like my love for modeling, I got my passion back for creating. Like that shoot is like such a big symbol of like my rebirth as a model, I feel like. So I will always love that. And the fact that obviously like you were a part of it just makes sense. And then Margaret, the photographer who shot it,
she's amazing.
She's incredible.
The whole team was awesome.
Well, yes, Emma's amazing too. But like we found out when you guys left that Margaret and I met on the set of my first shoot here in LA. Aww. She was doing behind the scenes photos. We worked together. We just didn't remember.
Oh, that's so funny. Like, you're like, oh, perfect.
Like, how wild is
and
this?
now she's shooting it.
You know what I mean? And it was one of those things where I got like the chills. I was like, whoa, this is something. So that shoot will always be top notch.
While we were there, like, obviously at this point, I feel like I don't even know how, I don't know. We've been in quarantine for like fucking a year basically now, I feel like. Yeah. But I mean, I remember talking to you because your body is changing. So, and you were even saying like, yeah, I'm in this weird fucking place now where I'm not curved, but I am curved, but I'm not.
Yeah.
So how is that right now for you?
Yeah, that's been, honestly, it's been such an interesting time. Modeling with my body has been so interesting because, like I said in the beginning, it was just, you're too athletic. You need to lose weight. So then I was losing weight, And then when I got signed as a curve model, you know, I was like, okay, I can kind of just be myself now, you know?
Yeah.
And when I signed with Wilhelmina, I basically just put it on the table. I was like, hey, I don't want to be told to lose weight or gain weight. I want you guys to just accept me for exactly how I am.
Right.
And that's that. And they were like, of course, you know, and to this
Mhm.
day, I've never, ever once have they been like, you know, you're looking a little small or a little too big. They've never said it. They're
Right.
just, you look
Amazing.
beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been incredible, but it's been such an interesting journey in that sense. Whereas when I first moved out here, you know, I was smaller, but I was still curvy. And at that time, really most of the working curve and plus models were size 12, 14, 16. And I was like, damn, I'm not fitting into this, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But the straight size was just straight size. So there was not really much for the
So you
in the
like
middle, in
created
between.
your own space.
Well, I mean, at that time, I was just kind of doing the jobs that came to me, which I was obviously grateful for.
Mhm.
But along the way, I kind of just was like, okay, well, you know, if I do gain weight, it'll probably help my career. So I didn't necessarily make it a goal to gain weight, but I also wasn't making it a priority to like work out and eat well. So
Mhm.
over the last year, 2019, I would say I was at the biggest that I had ever been.
Mhm.
And I was just kind of, again, it was never my goal to gain weight, but I was just doing me. And I was like, hey, if I do gain weight, I'll probably book more jobs, you know?
Mhm.
So whatever, you know? So I was just kind of eating good food, eating a lot of food, not
Mhm.
working out, you know, just kind of going with the flow. And I ended up getting to the heaviest that I had ever been.
Mhm.
And it didn't hit me until it hit me. And
Mhm.
I don't weigh myself. I don't really believe in looking at a number on the scale,
Mhm.
you know, every day. But
Yeah,
at the
like
same
what
time,
feels good.
here comes Tank again.
He's like in and out.
He's poking around. But, you know, I just don't think that that's the way to go, because your weight is going to fluctuate and you can't be caught
Right.
up on a number. But, you know, I do think it's fine to weigh yourself every few months to see what's going on, or even, you know, every few years. I hadn't stepped on a scale in a long ass time.
Mhm.
And I went home and I just decided to step on the scale, and I was like, holy shit,
Mhm.
really?
Mhm.
Like, that's what's going on right now?
Mhm.
And I was shocked. And I think that was more of just a wake up call where I was like, okay, you know, I think I've gotten a little carried away. And it
Mhm.
wasn't necessarily me gaining weight in a healthy way either. It wasn't like it was
Right.
naturally happening where I was just like still working
Coming
out,
into
eating good.
yourself, like
Yeah, it
being
wasn't
a
like that.
woman. Yeah.
Exactly. It was drinking a lot, eating late at night, you know, eating a lot of food that just was, you know, not taking care of myself. And I had
Right.
started to realize at the same time that I weighed myself that like I was not feeling healthy. Like I would
Mhm.
get winded going up the stairs, and I was like, what the fuck? Like I'm 23 at the time. I was like, I should not be feeling like this. Like this is ridiculous. So I became more aware of it, but it didn't really hit me until quarantine. Dylan and I ended up watching the like Zac Efron special on Netflix where he was like traveling the world and seeing, you know, the benefits of living a healthy life. And I was like, holy shit. It literally like turned a new leaf for Dylan and I, because Dylan was going through the same thing. He was at the heaviest he had ever been. He was working a job that he hated, you know, so we both were just kind of like not healthy. Yeah. And then, yeah. And then we lived together. So we were just comfortable with each other where we're like, you look
I
good.
love you.
You look good. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and that's one thing I'm super grateful for is I never at any point of my biggest was I like, oh, I hate the way I look. Like I've always been confident, and I always still look like, I was like, I look like a bad bitch. You know what I mean? Like
You're
I
like, real recognize real, honey. I'm looking in the mirror.
I was like, I'm good. I still look fine, you know, but it was when I searched deeper and was like, okay, but how do you feel? Like,
right.
Do you feel healthy? Do you actually think that this is your best self, you know?
Right.
And so basically we watched that special and we changed everything. We started eating better. And then of course with quarantine, we weren't eating out, which was our main thing, was eating out, you know?
Right.
So we cut out eating out literally numerous times a day. We'd kind of cut back on alcohol. And Dylan has always only eaten fish and chicken. But I really started cutting out meat because of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, so yeah, great. I mean, it just makes me feel so much better. And I know that I'm doing something for the planet as well. So anyways, I ended up just having this huge transformation over quarantine. Dylan and I started working out. He's getting certified as a personal trainer. So like, he found a passion that he was really excited about. I like refound my passion, and I just decided like, I'm just going to be the best version of myself that I possibly can. And I don't care what anybody says. So,
and it shows. No, that's what I like love so much about you is like what you're saying about like how you were confident, like even when you were at your heaviest weight. Like I adore you so much because you are just like, this is who I am. And like, it's awesome. And you're who you are. And that's awesome too. Like, you know, like you're like very encouraging and also owning your shit, which is like, I feel like we're always taught not to do that.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, no, like you don't want to be cocky or this, that, and the third. It's like, I'm not cocky. I'm just bomb. And it is what it is.
It you know, and it's so funny because people, you know, are always like, you need to love yourself more. But when you do love yourself, people are like, okay, you need to like relax.
Simmer down.
It's like, what do you want? You know?
Yeah.
But for that, I have to thank my parents because I'm like the luckiest person to have them as my parents because they literally just raised me to love who I was.
Right.
And, you know, if I wanted to wear a dress over some jeans and some mismatched Crocs, they were like, do your thing, you know. Like, they never told me, and my parents never made me feel bad about my body, you know. They were just like, you look great all the time, you know.
Right.
So that obviously helped me grow into the person that I am, where I feel confident in myself and I'm just like, it is what it is, you know what I mean? Like, if I gain some weight, all right, well, you know, I still look good, you know. If I don't, then okay, I'll just get a workout in, eat a little lighter, you know. So that's been great growing up, having them. That's like molded me into who I am. And I feel like I know that so many people do not have parents or like a foundation like that. So I almost feel like I want to be that person in people's lives to like give them that encouragement, remind them like, you're awesome. If
you're doing it.
Didn't tell you that. You know, I try.
If your parents didn't tell you. I think a lot of things, I forget where I heard it, but I mean, you're in it. You are just like a body positive, like empowering, like just a powerhouse, really. But like, I think that it shines so bright because of the fact that it is just like that authenticity of just like being in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like people are like, you're so confident, and it's like, you're not even confident. You just are who you are.
Right. Yeah.
There's so much confidence in, like, for instance, you are like, I'm confident. Whereas like, I don't feel like I'm confident.
Right.
But in that same breath, I know that to someone else, I appear very confident, where I have plenty of, you know, self-image issues, self-worth issues. I have a problem, like, even with the podcast, it took me months to do because I'm just like, that's not for me. Like, I shouldn't do that. Like, who do I think I am? And it's like, no, this is something you want to do.
Go after
fucking do it. Who cares?
You're amazing. Exactly. Yeah.
And so I think that confidence and authenticity is they're like one and the same, but no one like realizes it.
Yes. I totally agree with you. I do agree with you on that because I feel like I've always been somebody, even though I would say that I'm definitely body positive, but I steer clear of kind of the body positivity community because I feel like they're two different things. Like when I say I'm body positive, it's like I am positive towards showing my body love, as opposed to the community is so many different levels. And I feel like it can get, well, you know, this is for certain types of people and this label's for other people. And I'm like, look, I don't want to be in all that. I just want to encourage people to love the skin that they're in. You know what I mean? And because I feel like I do have friends that are kind of heavily in the body positivity community. And it's one of those things where like, if you say one wrong thing, it's scary, you know? And so I'm like, look, I don't even You know what I mean? I do my
I
own
do.
thing.
No, I
I'm
get
just like,
exactly.
look,
It's
I
just
just
you
want to
are
make you
who
feel
you
good.
are,
Mm-hmm.
and you feel good being that. And
Yeah.
it's like you can do that too
I just want
to
to
the
help people
audience.
feel that same thing where
Right.
it's like, I
Yeah.
just want you to enjoy the person that you are. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
But
like,
it's crazy.
I mean, you spend, like, you are who you spend your most time with. So why would you be
Yeah.
an asshole to that? Like,
Yeah.
I
It's like,
always
you
think
gotta be
about that.
nice.
I think you met Allie at the beach cleanup. I met her at the salon that I used to work at.
Yeah.
And when I moved here, I'm like a Philly girl in LA. Like,
Yeah.
we eat cheesesteaks, we eat pizza.
It's like, what am I doing here? And
Grew up in, like, we had pasta. I mean, my mom had, like, we had ice cream in the upstairs fridge and we had a downstairs fridge backup.
and then you're coming here where it's like vegan land and like everything, and you're like, hold on.
Oh my God. Like, I
Wait a
really felt
minute.
like I was like a criminal for a while here. I worked at a
For
salon.
liking me.
And I was like the biggest one there. And like, granted, I'm like I'm not past like $1.60. I mean,
Girl, no.
I stay at $1.60 pretty much all the time. This is like my happy zone. And I'm like, they would give me the hardest time about, like, we always had these little Cheez-Its, like, the snack packs.
Oh yeah.
They would keep them in the salon for guests if someone like was a little bit hungry, because
Right.
women that are hungry are just not a fun
It's a
time
scary
for
combination.
anyone. I think anyone actually who's hungry is just scary.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Dylan has his moments. My dad has his moments. Like,
you're just like, okay, we're just gonna not talk until we get to the nearest
till we get you some snacks.
something.
You have
So
an energy crisis.
I just remember this one time, like, in the salon. So basically what I'm saying is I was always just such an asshole to myself, especially
Right.
when I was there, because everyone else, I knew that they were looking at me kind of like,
Yeah.
you need to, like, there was one time where, like, one of the girls in the salon was like, anywhere else Mara would be regular, but here she's morbidly obese. Like, literally said that to a client in front of me, and I'm just like, oh, bet. Okay.
What?
Yeah, and like, I wasn't anything crazy. And then there was like another time where I had, I grabbed like the snack bag of the Cheez-Its because I hadn't eaten anything all day. And the one girl was like, are you going to eat that whole bag? I'm like, bitch, I'm going to have 2.
What? And I might have another one. Like,
God damn. I'm like, it's a snack bag. But Allie always used to be like, stop talking to my friend like that. And she was talking about me.
Oh, I love that.
Talking to me. And that's like my favorite thing now. Like, anytime my friend is like an asshole, or like, I'm not shit. Well, like, sometimes there's a very thin line. I'm trying to find the line because I'm always like, I'm not shit. And like, trying to down. Yeah. And then I'm like, I shouldn't even joke like that.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, fuck. Like,
yes,
like,
so
self-deprecating humor. Like, my girlfriends get so mad at me now because they'll be like, I look fat, and I'll be like, can you not say that, like, about my friend? Because it's fucking rude. And they'll be like, you say it about yourself. And I'm like, check me when I do that.
Do that to me when I try to say that.
Because
no, cut it out.
We don't have time for that.
I think
that's not what we're watering right now.
It is so true, because that was one thing, that my dad always taught me growing up, and my mom too, but my dad is a personal trainer. So he's around people that are trying to better their bodies and their lives. And, he always said, there's no positivity comes out of talking down on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What is that going to help? You look and you're like, I feel fat, or I feel like my legs look like this. Okay, what is that doing to better you
today?
You know
like right now.
Like right now, that's only going to make you feel worse. And when you feel worse, you're not motivated to do anything better, So I always grew up where it's like, okay, I don't every day wake up and be like, yes, I look incredible. Not at all. Like, I definitely have days where I'm like,
shit, sis.
This is not it today, girlfriend. It is not it. But I look in the mirror and I literally am just like, but look at, like, you're literally a human. Like, you need to be so thankful to just have legs that carry you everywhere. Fucking hand, everything.
Dude, one of my best friends only has one hand.
You know what I mean?
And I'm just like,
it's like,
Okay. And
we
she
take things for granted
is
so
savage.
much.
She like can do anything. Like she's
You know
literally
what
like
I'm
a power
saying?
lifter. And I'm like, Mar, what? Shut up.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Shut
and
up.
sometimes you have to tell yourself that, where it's just like, stop,
Yeah. Right.
And literally, whenever I have a day where I'm like, I'm like, okay, what can you do that'll make you feel better? Do you
Right.
want to go work out? Do you want to go drink some water? Do you want to
Right.
go eat? And it's like, go do something that's actually going to be productive, but just look at yourself and fucking smile in the mirror, because
Right.
you're here today.
Love on yourself. Yeah.
You are in control of you. And it's
Right.
like, why make yourself feel worse? There's so many people who have negative things to say. It's like, why would you be one of those to your own self? Like, you have to be your own number one biggest fan if
Yeah,
you
it's
want
like
to get anywhere in life.
Our best relationship is, well, it should be the one with
It
ourselves.
should be,
Yeah.
yes.
Like
And
you
I'm
can't really
telling
show
you,
up for your other relationships if you're just being a complete asshole
exactly.
to your
And
like
that was
vessel, basically.
one of the things that I learned over quarantine with, changing up my life, my diet, working out. All of those things were also benefiting me mentally, because before I was just like, I was letting modeling control my life. And while it is my life, like it's my career, it is my dreams, they're my goals, like I was letting it affect my mood. So, if I was seeing other people booking jobs that I wanted, I'd be like, why didn't I get that?
Ego kicks in.
Yeah. Or even like, okay, I haven't worked for, a week or so, like what's happening, and if you wouldn't book a casting, you'd be like, well, what did I do wrong? Like just letting it take over me, and Dylan had to let me know, like, look, you cannot do that. You have to just keep going. You need to know when to shut it off, because it's going to take over and you're not taking care of yourself. And I was letting it, affect me to the point where I was like irritable with him.
Right.
I didn't want to do anything else but just sit and wait for
the call,
emails to come in or anything, and that was one of my main things that I had to do over quarantine, was to work on bettering myself and the relationship and the way I was treating myself, because I was like, girl, this is not healthy, the way that you are allowing this to just take over completely. And so really coming out of quarantine, it's not over. But when work started picking back up again, I was like, okay, mentally, I'm at my best. Physically, I'm at my best. Like, I'm ready to go. And
like,
that was,
rage.
Let's go. And that was like one of the best things that could have ever happened to me, period. But especially this year, where it was like, okay, like I thought I was confident before. Now that I'm putting my best foot forward, I am like ready to go. You know what I mean? Yeah, come on now, let's go. And that was something that was really cool, because I had people were noticing even when I wasn't bringing it up. So my agents had reached out and they were just like, Sophia, we just want to let you know that we are so proud of the work that you put in. We can see everything that you're doing and we're so proud of you. You always look beautiful, but you are just, you know what I mean?
You're stepping into your light.
Really. And that was something that they'd said. They were just like, you are commanding it right now. And we can see that you are really in it, your best self right now. And only good things are going to come from that. And, that was one of the main things, going back to your question, when people were like, okay, you've kind of had this big transformation. What do your agents think? What does this mean for working for you? Because you don't look the same way that you did before. And I had this revelation of the fact that last year, when I was at my heaviest, I was still being told that I was too small for clients.
We're never going to be good enough for other people.
And I was like, what?
Right.
I need to literally just, because none of this makes any sense, I need to do what is best for me.
Feels good for you.
I want to be at my personal best, and whoever wants to book me at that can book me. I'm ready for them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here and try to fill anybody's body standards, because I'm like, I've been doing this for way too long. And at this point, after being in the industry for so long, I'm finally like, this is me, really. This is all Sophia Baltz, and I'm ready to give you everything, but I'm not going to change for anybody else. And even though nobody had told me gain weight, subconsciously, I was like, well, if I do gain weight, maybe I'll do better in the industry. But then I would see certain jobs that I would do, and I'd be like, that doesn't really look like my best. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
you just need to put your best foot forward. And now at this point, I'm like, look, if Victoria's Secret calls me, Sports Illustrated, when they do Savage Fenty, I know I'm ready. You know, as opposed to before, it was like, look, these opportunities can come up at any time.
Right.
But if you're not ready, that's nobody's fault but your own, you know?
Right.
So that was like such a big thing. And that was a really big revelation for me, where I was like, wow, I've been all over the place with my body in this industry, but I feel like right now I'm finally just me, and it feels great. And surprisingly, like, the industry has accepted it even more. Like, I've started booking dream clients and, you know, new clients in the middle of a pandemic after, you know, losing.
You're like,
I was like, okay, this is it, you know. But it was like a reward where it's like, look, you need to listen to yourself, be your best for you. Don't do it for anybody else. Do it for you, and that is going to attract everything that you need, you know. And that's been like, so I cannot talk shit about 2020 because of the fact that it has literally been the best year for me personally, growth-wise. And I don't know if I would have been able to do it without this pandemic, which is wild.
No, it's just you had time.
Yeah, I had time to step away from everything, step away from, you know, worrying about other people's careers and not mine.
Well, and it's perspective too, you know, like
it is.
Everyone has had the same time now. Now, granted, everyone has been, I forget what the exact saying is, but it's like we're all in the same storm. It's just different boats.
Oh, that's really, I've never heard that, but that's really cool.
Yeah. And like, I'm like, true. Like, I feel that because, you know, some people did get unemployment. Some people didn't get unemployment. Like, different things like that. And I mean, shit can suck and shit can really suck. And you can be in the really shitty stuff and still like, there's always like goodness to find.
Yes.
Some
even if it's hard
or another.
To find. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that's been wild.
Yeah. I think also like what you're saying too is like when you do like the inside work and the introspection, like it really does shine. Like
it shines
people,
out.
Like even for me in quarantine, like there was, I mean, they shut down the gyms, and obviously I don't, you guys are like the GOAT over there because I already know what you're doing.
Dude, I'm telling you.
I like to follow you on Instagram to see, but they're fucking getting it over there at their apartment, whereas I finally found a gym, like, I guess, what is it? It's December now. I think I found a gym in like end of September, October.
Okay. Yeah.
And like I had been away from the gym since March. And the at-home shit wasn't doing it for me.
No.
But like once I got back in the gym, I was like, I will never take this for granted again. Not because of what my body looks like, because at this point, like when I started going back to the gym, it was like I was curvy as shit. I was thick as fuck.
Girl, you was looking good. You like, always been looking good.
Whatever. I just didn't really care anymore. But like the moving of my body, like for my brain, was
everything.
And like the sweat, like the getting it out,
all that bad toxins out. Yes,
that is what was hitting for me. And people, like my girlfriends are like, oh my god, like you look so skinny. I'm like, okay, but like no, it doesn't matter. And I was just cool with I just bought like 16 new bathing suits, y'all. Like now they don't fucking fit me.
Now they don't fit. You're like,
that is.
The goal was not to lose weight.
Like I was like, I was cool. I thought I was cool.
Your message or your Instagram, and you're like, what am I supposed to do now? I just bought all these bathing suits and they don't fit. And it's
literally,
like, it's crazy.
All right, I guess I'll just go fuck myself basically, but whatever. Like, but it's funny because like now I'm like, no, like I look how I feel. Like you guys are all like, you're glowing, and it's like because I sit down in the morning and I write down like 15 things that I like about myself that don't have anything to do with how I look.
Exactly.
And then I talk to myself pretty much, honestly. Like I put my feet on the ground. I'm like, thank you. I just say thank you out loud.
Dude,
by myself.
So similar.
I'll be a weirdo. Like I don't care. I'm like, it works for me. And
Exactly.
I'm like, I just like kind of, I mean, there's definitely times where it's like, like,
Of
I don't know
course.
what's happening, like,
Of course.
whatever. But
Of
at the same
course.
time, I'm like, when you start doing the inside work and like you care a little bit less than like what the outside is, it's like I'm glowing because I am inside
Yes.
tapping in to like
Glowing
who
and
I am.
growing.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Exactly. Glowing and growing. It's like a side
And
effect.
it really, and it's just so amazing because, like, what more can you ask for? You know what I
Right.
mean? And
Yeah.
the best compliment is you look so happy. Not
I
necessarily
always think
you.
about that. Like, how can you
Yeah.
compliment people without talking about how they look?
Yeah. And it's like, I've had people who, just reach out because I didn't realize how noticeable my transformation was until I started going back and looking at pictures from last year. And I
I
was
don't
like,
even see it physically as much.
yeah,
I mean, I do a little bit, but
yeah.
only because you were like so vivacious. Like, I don't know. I think it's
I
vivacious.
was
This could be
vivacious,
another word
honey. Listen,
that
I
I
like the
mess
way
up.
you say it. I like the way you say it.
I'm
But
like,
no,
I'm putting the O's in it because you know what I'm talking about. Okay?
I was getting definitely vivacious.
And it was
And that's when I
yummy
noticed it.
as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, let's not get it twisted.
It
But
was a look. It was
you
a look.
also, like, just recently, you're just, like, creatively in your space. Like, I don't know. It's not physical. I mean, it is, sure, to, like, a bystander who's just kind of
Right.
walking by, I think.
Right.
But I think if you're really paying attention, it's definitely hitting way harder than how
man.
you look, in my opinion.
Just no. And that's the thing, the messages that I was getting, from my agents and from friends and people who follow me, they're like, I'm just really excited for you because you just look like you're doing amazing. And that just made me feel so good, because I'd get messages. I've been getting a few, and I had gotten a few, but not many messages about my body.
Mhm.
I had one time last year gotten a message from a girl, and they're like, you look like you gained weight. Why? And I was like, what the fuck kind of question is
And
that?
also, like, what? Like, if you are listening to this and you've ever sent a message like that,
Don't do
just
it.
like don't. It's just
do it.
for what? For
Is that-
literally what? Do you touch her body? No.
You know what I'm
Okay,
saying? And I didn't even know how to respond to that, and then I almost didn't. But I was like, you know what? I think this person needs to know not to do that. I was like, listen, my body can be changing for many reasons that do not have anything to do with you, and you have no business asking. But I was like, we're human. Our bodies are going to change. Like, and after that, I was just like, thankfully, I got one message like that. I've had people that get crazy messages all the time that I don't know how that would affect them. But, it was one of those things where I was like, why do you feel the need to comment on somebody's body like that? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then I've gotten some that are like, oh my God, you look so skinny. And I'm like, that's not what I'm going for either. Because that's not a compliment in a sense.
Like, if that's what you were trying to do, fine.
Yes.
Like, it's funny because I was like with my one mentor like 3 weeks ago, and I was like, Alan, don't I look skinny? And she was like, yeah, you do, but like I wasn't gonna comment on that. And I was like, that part actually.
Wow. Like,
she's like, you look great.
you.
Like, and she's like, you've been beautiful. I'm like, okay.
Like,
I'm like, ugh. And it's true.
That's what we need to hear. We don't need to hear like, oh, you look so thick, or oh, you look so skinny. We just need to hear like, you look great. Dude, you look like you're doing amazing. You're glowing.
You wouldn't know because you have a man's. Well, I'm sure you do. I'm sure weirdos are in your friggin' DMs, but mine are crawling.
Oh,
like, I'm like, I like girls.
Yeah.
Go away. I'm with my dog.
Dude, honestly,
but
I block everyone. Not everyone, sorry. I block every man necessarily that looks a little strange or comes at me some type of way. I'm like, you know what? This is a safe space.
I know. Like, I love when you post your engagement and you have like 83% women. I'm like, I want that.
Everybody's like, how the fuck? And I'm like, listen, just to be completely honest, I'm like, this might not be the way to go, but I remove so many people because you're curating your space so much. Yes. Exactly. And I'm like, look, I want to be able to post a picture that I like you know, and not have to worry about getting derogatory comments or things that are degrading. Like, I love the comments from women. I'm like, I don't need men
It's like
in
a
here.
sport. We're like, I'm
Literally.
like, run me over with an 18-wheeler, why don't you?
I'm like, who's got the best comment? I'm like, this is great. I like think of things to say to other people's comments. I'm like, yes, like,
Yeah,
I
it's,
don't
like,
care about the
fun.
men. If I get a sexy, I'm like, delete and remove follower. I'm like, this is not the place for you. I'm so sorry, men, but not here for
Dude,
that.
I think it's so funny. Like, guys will be like, you're thick as fuck. And I'm just like, okay.
What do you want me to say? I feel uncomfortable.
I'm just like, why? I'm like,
You
can't
know
you
what I
say
mean?
you like my body? If that's where you
Right.
want to go. But like,
Right.
how do you
In
know
a
I want to
different
be
way.
thick as
God
fuck?
damn.
I mean,
It's
yeah,
just-
fucking run it. But like, you're not my man, so don't be in my
So
DMs
don't-
saying that.
Exactly.
And you know
Like,
me,
come
I'll
on.
blast them. I just put
Oh,
people
I
in
know
the
you
story.
do. I love to see that. I'm like,
Like,
damn, if only I
And
had
then I'm
smart
a
comebacks.
savage because I'm putting them on my story. I'm like,
Don't
How
say
about
that if you
you?
don't want it to be exactly. Like, now maybe next time you'll know not to send messages like that.
last week we were in the grocery store on Thanksgiving, and I'm like a child. Like, I
Yeah.
just stay at the cart, and my friends do. I'm like, I'll just be here.
I'll be the cart pusher.
So I'm like on FaceTime with my friend, and this guy comes up behind me, and he's like, photobomb. Granted, it's COVID, okay? Like,
And it's
why are you so
2020.
close to me? Like, get away.
What?
You're like, he was breathing on my shoulder, basically. I'm like,
Oh,
you know me, I
what
don't
the
really
fuck?
care. I'm like, whatever, go away. So he walks back away, and my friend on the phone is like, was that a stranger? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like,
Now you want to come in my conversation.
I'm like, and she's like, why the fuck did he just get so close to you? Like, as if we're not in COVID. And he's like, from down the aisle, he says, because she's not wearing a bra. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Yo, men are
What?
crazy.
What? They
Yeah.
are wilding,
Yes.
dude.
I
What
was
the
like, and I literally turned around. I was like, honestly, I was like the best person you could have just fucked with. I really don't give a fuck.
Yes.
I was like, but now you're
You
talking
crossed the
about my
line.
tits
Yeah.
that I barely even have. Like, can
Not
you
here
go
for that.
away?
Yeah. Like, I was being nice to you. This could
Right.
have gone totally differently, but now you want to like say something
I
ridiculous
was like, dude,
that.
it's 2020. Like,
We're in a
that's,
pandemic, bitch. I'm not wearing a bra.
and also, like, did you, like, Me Too already happened? Like, I just feel like there's, like, the taste level has changed,
should
and that's
know.
not it anymore.
Read the room, boo boo.
Yeah, I'm like,
saying
that
it for
ain't it.
2020. God,
Nah.
people, I'm telling you, it's like they're just missing a part of their brain when it comes to
It's just
handling
like,
situations.
you can, like, say things so differently.
God damn.
Well,
Jeez Louise.
we will wrap this up for today.
I
But
could talk
I love
forever
you
with
so
you.
much. I know.
I love you,
I'm like,
dude.
we could do another one. That's what I keep telling
Honestly,
everyone.
we
I'm like,
can.
it's my podcast. I'll do what I want.
I
We
do
can
what
just-
I want. Do part 1, part 2, part
Seriously,
3.
we could talk
Literally.
about so much. Like, I'm like, you're in
could
such
be
a
the
good,
catch-up.
like, you're in, we could talk about relationships, because I think, like, you're an
Honestly,
example of a relation. Like, I feel like so often people are like, oh, I don't want a boyfriend or a girlfriend because it's distracting, and it's like, no, that's because you're in the wrong relationship, you idiot.
Dude, literally, we should do a relationship episode because I have so much to say about that.
And we can have Dylan come in on
He'll
like
be
half of
ready.
it.
He'll be
He's
ready.
ready.
He also has really great advice too. Like, all my friends call us when they have,
Noted.
like, literally, yes, because Dylan is very real, and he will let you know if he thinks that, like, this guy is actually just like dicking around or what.
Right.
So I would totally be down to do that. And also, just because what you were saying, like, people think that a relationship distracts them, but literally without Dylan, like, I would not be where I'm at right now. Like, we helped push each other, and
Yeah.
now he's at the best that he's ever been, and I'm at the best that I've ever been.
And you're like
together, we're
at the
just, like,
lowest of the best.
we're just getting started.
Exactly.
And so I'm like, it's so awesome. It's like, you just have to find the right person
Yep.
who is going to be able to lift you up. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, don't rush, because there's no point in rushing to find somebody if it ain't it.
Dude, I like
if it
fall in
wasn't
love
like
every
this-
day, and like,
dude, I was like that before.
I just
so-
deleted everything. I'm like, it's so funny because, like, you know, Dr. Lee, like, Dr.
Yes.
Pimple Popper. So
Yes, yes.
they all just geek out at me all the time because they're just like, what are you saying? And I'm just like, and everyone's like, no one knows.
we don't know.
But they're like, keep telling us. So I like went in, we had a shoot last week and I go in, I'm like, guys, I'm 3 weeks off anyone's son. And they're like,
You're like, wait, what?
what? And I was like, no sons. Like, I'm not dealing with anyone's fucking crusty son. And they're like, Mara, what do you mean? I'm like, SON, And they're like,
You know what I'm talking
oh,
about?
and she's like in her group text with like all of the best doctors in America. Like, does anyone know what she means when she says son?
Honestly, dude, you need your own TV show. The podcast is just the start, but the show is coming next because you got some crazy shit.
But I'm like,
I love it.
I'm like, seriously though, like I'm off anything because it's like I'll know when someone's like ready to level up because
Dude,
I want to push someone else, and it's like just push yourself at this point. But like
Yeah.
you are in such a thing where it's like I got you, you got me, and it's like so refreshing to see because I know you were like you stood your ground like in the beginning. You're like, this is what I want, this is who I am, this is what I need to feel good about this. Either you show up or you don't. Either way, I'm gonna keep moving.
Exactly.
Come with me or like goodbye.
Or back on out, boo, because somebody else will be here later on. I don't need it.
Right, exactly.
Oh, dude, well, I'm proud of you off of that Hinge. It's gonna
Off
happen.
Hinge, off Bumble, everything. I'm like,
Delete it.
no one text me. Don't send me any of your freak pictures.
I don't want to.
Don't answer any of mine if you get any. Just ignore me. Sometimes I lose a little self-control, and you get like a really cute. I look good in the morning. My best friends are like getting my nudes now. I'm like, look at my butt, it's popping. They're like,
It's
yo.
popping. That's all you need. That's all you need. You
Yeah,
just
good
need your friends to
girlfriends.
gas you up. You don't need some
Exactly.
nasty ass men. Yeah, it's nice. No. Give me my girls. I'm like, yes, bitch.
Exactly.
Oh my god.
Okay, well, I had so
love
much
you.
fun. Thank you so much for spending your morning with me and
Thanks
for
for
waiting
making me feel
through
better.
my. Oh yeah, of course.
My
What?
head doesn't even hurt anymore. You got rid of my concussion. That's how magical you are.
I love you. All right, well, I'll keep you posted. Send me your Bitmoji so we can get a fire cover because this is my new thing.
Dude. Oh yes, I'm gonna post it as soon as you get it done.
All right, I love you so much.
All right, love you, girl.
Okay, have a great day and a good weekend. Bye.
You too. Bye.